Hey, Shalom family. So I'm wearing one of my shirts today. This shirt says All Truth Matters. And it's one of my shirts that's on 6dayscreations.com. And this shirt was inspired by the fact that I kept finding myself uh, making the statement, All Truth Matters. And from various conversations and that I would get into and discussions that I would see where people would try to minimize or say that something does not matter, something that is true, that it doesn't matter because it's something that has not personally impacted them, right? For example, when it comes to our identity, right, understanding who, what our those of us who have discovered that we are descendants from the 12 tribes of Israel, a lot of people will say or try to imply that it doesn't matter, that is it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Now, while I agree that it's not the thing of primary importance, right? Of primary importance is our spiritual identity in us being redeemed in the Messiah, right? And that is the primary importance. So I agree with the fact that there are some who have created that truth and formed it into a religion, as I talked about in my other video, and made that the primary thing and the central thing. Instead of coming to who we are in the Messiah being the primary thing, right? So while I agree that it's not the primary thing, it still matters, right? So all truth matters. Everything that is truth matters, right? So and in another video I talked about the last video prior to this one I talked about that things are not true until the spirit comes into it. It's not truth, excuse me, until the spirit, it's things that are spirit and truth are one, right? So any truth that comes from the Most High has to have the spirit connected to it in order for it to be truth of Yah, right? So there's a lot of facts out there. There's a lot of true information that is separated from the will and intention and spirit of the Most High Yah, and in and of itself and on its own, it can, it can create good or it can create evil. It can create damage. It can do whatever it does, and still be true. But when you bring it, when it's connected in its right element with the spirit of Yah, it is truth that brings life, right? So, and we know that every lie is from the enemy. So lies have the purpose of stealing, killing, and destroying, right? A lie has an intention. A lie is created with a purpose, right? And while that purpose may not impact everyone, right? That's why some people say a truth doesn't matter to them. Well, it may not matter to everyone, primarily, but it matters. It's a life and death matter to somebody, right? So for somebody is rejecting the faith right now, or is confused in their faith right now because of the issue of identity that they can't resolve within their heart, within their mind. You know, for me, it wasn't something that kept me from the faith, right? I've been rooted in my faith for a long time prior to coming to that knowledge, right? But it was something that was a threat to me because I was confused about the 400 years of slavery that we have endured, and the continual oppression that we've endured in this country, right? And I just, I had a question in my mind: where was the Most High during that time period? Like what? Like that's something that should have some kind of explanation to it, right? So so while it wasn't a big deal for me, it was something that could have, if that would have continued to grew into something that might have deterred me from the faith, right? And along with other things, there's a number of things that as I learned more context about history and about the scriptures and about prophecy, that it started to fill in gaps in my understanding, in my mind, in my curiosity, my things that I pondered about, that made me firmer in my faith, in my understanding, in my worldview. It made things make sense. I'm a type of person, things have to make sense for me, right? So, begin to make it make sense. And which, who's to say if it didn't make sense to me and I had all these loopholes, then maybe later on something else may have came along and enticed me away from the truth, right? Offering some type of answers. And that is what has happened and what is happening with many people right now today, in the faith, that they are being persuaded away because there's so many unanswered questions that they don't have, that it's leaving so many open doors, right? And not even unanswered questions, but misconceptions of the faith. Like, for example, it was a sister that I knew who there was a show that came out a while ago called Zeitgeist, I think, and it was a couple different versions of it, and one of it dealt with religion, right? So it was one of the first things that I've seen that made the connection between who the world calls Jesus Christ and all these other ancient, gods of Egypt and all the different places, and try to make that connection between the two, right? So it lined up all these different things, and it's become common now to see this, right? So it'll say like December 25th, well, Jesus is connected to December 25th, and along with these other gods that were said to be born on December 25th. So it was making this syncretism between it, right? And I had a sister who, when she saw that, she was, a believer, and when she saw that, it completely shipwrecked her faith, right? But the reality is that two lies, right? The way that it was displayed in that video was deceptive, right? But because the Hebrew Messiah in the scriptures has nothing to do with December the 25th, right? So that correlation between the Hebrew Messiah in the scriptures and December 25th is faulty. However, because Christianity has embraced that day as being the birth of Christ, the confusion, that lie, has lent itself to the second lie, right? So that the Christian lie of that December 25th lend itself for these people to come later on and tell the lie of synchronizing, or the deception of synchronizing the Hebrew Messiah with this date that has nothing to do with him, right? So lies have a purpose, right? And ultimately, it lays a foundation for confusion, misconceptions that lead people away from the faith, because there's something in us that is yearning for truth and that can discern it, right? Those of us who truly are seeking truth in the Most High, is something in us, our spirit, will discern something being off, will discern something not being right, and it won't allow us to settle until we come into, truth, right? Now, so that is why all truth matters, right? That is why all truth matters. That's why we have to come into truth and establish truth about all things, right? So because people are falling away continually because of lies, because of deception, because they're trying to settle on something, and it's like something just not sitting right, and they end up going off into another direction, to find answers somewhere else, right? So all truth matters. All truth matters. Even if it's something that's not a faith issue for you, it may be a faith issue for somebody else. So it's important that we continue to allow the Most High to lead us into all truth by His Spirit, and to not become a dejector of truth, to be one who is minimizing the need and necessity for truth being established, right? So, and to go back to what I started off saying, we don't want to create religions around these truths and doctrines around these truths, and allow the truth to be what it is, because spirit and truth together comes from the Most High, and it stands alone. It stands by itself. It doesn't need to be molded and amplified and separated, and it doesn't need to be idolized. It doesn't need to be projected in a way that takes it away from the spirit and brings it into a carnal place, right? When you separate something, it brings it takes something away, right? Our society always does that. The society that we're in right now is a separatist type of society, right? It separates things, it segments things, it takes things away from the whole. It's kind of like how we have vitamins that we take, right? You can buy a bottle of A vitamins or E vitamins, C vitamins. You can buy the bottle of vitamins, but when you eat an apple, it's consolidated together, right? You're getting everything together, right? It's holistic. So all of the other vitamins that synchronize with it, you're getting it at the same time. So you're getting the whole thing that you need from it, right? You're getting the energy and the fiber. You're getting everything together when you eat an apple, because it's how y'all intended it to be. It's whole. But when you separate all the things, and you end up making this formula that's incomplete, that throws things off balance, right? So we want to be as holistic as possible. We want to move into a place of oneness and holism, where we're looking at the whole picture, right? We don't want to have everything separate, right? The what we call the New Testament, what we call the Old Testament. We have to understand the synchronicity, I can't say the word, how it synchronizes together, right? We have to understand how it is holistic. And if you don't understand that, and you the more, we don't know all things because we haven't been acculturated to know all things, right? We've been taught in a very weird way, particularly here in America where I am. We've been taught in a way that doesn't make sense, that separates us from what we really need to know and understand. We've been kept from a lot of things. So that's why, as we're trying to put different pieces of the puzzles back together, we go on these we fall into the trap and temptation of isolating things and focusing on it, because we're trying to put the pieces together. But let's not lose sight of the whole picture. Let's not lose sight on the goal, right? Which is to lead us back to who we are in the Messiah, who we are as sons of the Most High Yah, who we are as those who are being formed into His image, right? And being restored to reflect His character, right? That is our goal. So we don't want to get lost in the details, right? We don't want to get lost in the peripheral things. We don't want to get lost in our little areas of interest or fascination, right? we want to take the pieces, put it back into the puzzle, so that we can get the whole picture, right? You're doing a puzzle. You don't want to get so, wow, I got these corners. I put these corners together. Okay, good. Now, what's the whole picture? Those corners, there was some pieces missing, so you didn't know what it was. But now that you got the pieces, let's look at the whole and come into that whole picture, and not get preoccupied with the various pieces, right? Some people spend their whole walk, as they are coming into knowledge and understanding, they spend their whole time focused on the name. They spend their whole time focused on the identity. They spend their whole time focused on the church and what they didn't do right. They spend their whole time focused on, like, take the piece, right, and put it in, take the piece of truth, allow the Spirit to cause it to be life-giving, because that's what Spirit and truth does. It brings us to the tree of life, right? We don't want to get stuck on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We're just you don't want to get lost there. Come into life, right? What is the life that this truth that I'm realizing is bringing me into? How is it connecting me to the Creator? How is it amplifying, enhancing my relationship with the Creator, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my fellow people? How is it causing me to grow in love and grow in the characteristics of the character of the Almighty, right? How is it doing that? So we want to come into that thing. So as we are searching for truth, we want to make sure that we come into the fullness of truth with the Spirit, and not just get lost in true facts and information, because there's not necessarily any redemptive value in it unless it is in oneness with the Spirit of Yah, the Spirit of truth, right? That is transforming us from the inside out. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So I just wanted to share that. I'm writing a book called Remnant Truth, which will be one of the books that I'm working on right now. And it will be the second book in the Remnant series. The first book was Remnant Love. You can check that out at remnantlovebook.com, or check out Remnant Love just on Amazon. And it'll be in the description and in the comments wherever you see this video. And let's continue to endure in our faith, in our truth, and in our love as we journey in this walk with the Most High Yah, as He's opening our eyes and drawing us closer to Himself. Hallelujah. Blessings and shalom.